One particular complication in English is that there are certain compounds which unexpectedly perhaps are stressed on the second element, which have late stress. Even though grammatically they're compounds, and in terms of meaning they're compounds, nevertheless they're accented as if they were phrases. We can make certain generalizations about these. So the first generalization, 6.1 on the handout, applies when the first element names the material or ingredient out of which something is made. So, foodstuffs, for example. You can eat some cherry pie. Cherry pie is made out of cherries, and the shape, the form that it takes is a pie. And we call this cherry pie. It's clearly a compound, it's not a phrase. You can't say it was a very cherry pie. No, it's noun plus noun compound, but we don't call it cherry pie, we call it cherry pie. Similarly, you can have for your main course a pork chop. A pork chop made out of pork, and the form it takes is a chop. Another kind of second course might be rice pudding. Pudding made out of rice. Now, what I said is certainly true of British English. Americans are a bit less likely to have these patterns. Americans do so often say things like pork chop. I'm not even sure about whether you can say cherry pie. Possibly you can. But we can't. We certainly have late stress in these compounds. And indeed, you can think of lots and lots more of them. A ham sandwich. Ham sandwich. Late stress. It's a sandwich made out of ham. Some more suggestions.
Rubber boots.
Rubber boots. Let's in fact look at those further along then. Next line we've got a gold ring, a ring made of gold. A plastic bag, bag made out of plastic. Cotton socks, socks made of cotton. A nylon jacket. It's very productive, this. I mean, you can have almost anything you like. A cotton headband. That's, of course, a compound within a compound. A headband is a compound, but cotton, it's made of cotton, so it's a cotton headband. A cotton headband is what I wear when I'm running to keep the sweat off my face. So there are hundreds and hundreds of expressions like this. This is the expected pattern, in fact, where we have the first element naming the material from which something is made, whether it's food or something else. So that's a general exception to the principle of compound stress. We now have exceptions to the exception. And these are particularly expressions involving cake, or juice, or water. Because we say ginger cake, for example. Although it's a cake made out of ginger, we don't call it ginger cake, we call it ginger cake. Similarly, we say orange juice. Although it's juice made out of oranges, we don't call it orange juice. That would presumably be some juice or other that's coloured orange. Okay. But orange juice is the way we say it. By the way, notice it has double j in it. Typical foreign mispronunciation, orange juice. No, it's got two j, orange juice. Orange juice, orange juice, orange juice. Perrier water. Water, perhaps not exactly made of Perrier, but there are other things like barley water that follow the same pattern. So that's foodstuffs. When you're asking for things in the refectory, you can practice like doing these things. Well, now, supposing you want one of these. Where does the main stress go? Salad. Tuna salad. Tuna salad. It fits in with the general uncertainty whether this first element is an adjective or a noun. Now we may know that boiled potatoes is clearly a phrase, adjective plus noun, but sauté, French word, those who know French know this is a past participle, but lots of people don't. They just think of this as a kind of potatoes, and so call it sauté potatoes. In fact, potatoes are interesting because the formal name for what the Americans call French fries is chipped potatoes. But this t in chipped, past tense marker, is of course exactly in the place where you get elision. So people normally say chipped potatoes, so they've started writing chipped potatoes, and now it looks like a noun plus noun compound. That's what you would usually see on the menu in the refectory. Certainly stressed on the second element.